I remember that time when there were only a few days left before classes ended and vacation began. There was an old rumor and supposed paranormal experiences at a gas station that piqued our curiosity. And so, the year 2003 marked me for life. I am Christian Velasquez, and this is my story. We were having lunch in the university cafeteria. We had just finished the final exam, and soon we would receive the most awaited grade of the entire year. That's when a friend of ours who had dropped out of the course came to visit us. He told us he had the worst experience of his life, but his expression didn't seem disturbed or terrified. Nevertheless, we decided to listen to him. He told us about a gas station where every new worker receives a visit from a creepy truck that leaves them traumatized for life. The first thing we did was laugh at him, arguing that he didn't look like someone who had experienced what he described. That didn't stop him from continuing his story, but he lost credibility due to the calmness he reflected, as if it were a joke to scare us. I was curious anyway and asked him where that gas station was. He told us, but also advised us to stay away from that place for anything in the world. Honestly, he was the only one who took the matter seriously, and even that impression didn't convince us. When he left, we mocked him without hesitation, and some even insulted him harshly. The day the exam results were revealed, our joy was through the roof. The excitement and happiness seemed endless, but it didn't last long. On our way to a bar to celebrate, we got the news that this friend who told us about the gas station had taken his own life. His own mother found him hanging with a rope in his room in the early hours of the morning. Our happiness vanished immediately. We had no words to say to each other, and one by one, we went home. I felt guilty for everything we said to him when he came to us. We realized too late that he was telling the truth about how he felt, but we still needed to confirm if it was really because of what happened at the gas station, or if he committed suicide due to external factors. And well, we soon confirmed it because 2 days later, his mother revealed that in his room, she found a note warning not to go near that place. The curiosity of everyone who heard him that day skyrocketed, and 2 days after the vacation started, one of my friends confirmed that he had managed to get a job at the gas station. We were warned not to visit. The truth is, we were furious because we felt it was an offense to the memory of our deceased friend, but he didn't care and paid little attention to us. A week passed, and then he himself came to us, telling us that what our friend said before taking his life was entirely true. The thing is, he said it in a joking and sarcastic tone, as if he was really making fun of us. I remembered then that it happened the same way the first time, and in the end, that friend committed suicide. So I suggested to the rest that we should pay attention to what he was saying, but the truth is, he didn't cooperate either. He joked about the gas station, the truck, and everything, to the point where he got on my nerves, and I completely ignored him. 2 days later, we got the news. He had committed suicide in such a painful way that I prefer not to say it. It was confirmed then that the gas station did indeed have something we couldn't describe naturally, but it caused those who worked there to take their lives in a horrific manner. We agreed not to visit that place for anything in the world, but it was as if it was calling you. One night, I went to that place and found one of my friends working there. I scolded her and told her to quit right then, but something curious happened while we were arguing. An old woman in a black robe arrived and stood where the cars parked. The strange thing? My friend told me to give her permission to fill up a truck with gas, but I didn't see any truck, just that woman standing there. She took the gas pump, pretended to put it in an invisible vehicle, and pressed to fill it up. The floor should have been soaked with gas, but it wasn't. The machine registered the gallons being used, but I didn't see anything. The woman smiled while looking at me, and I talked to my friend, telling her there was no truck in front of her. I couldn't convince her of that, and when the machine stopped, she put the pump away. The woman gave her the money and then she left. I didn't know what that was, but inside I had the feeling that she would soon be found dead, having taken her own life. I kept insisting that she quit that job, but her personality changed drastically. She became more joking and sarcastic than usual. She even joked that it would be incredible to have the courage to jump from a 10th floor to take her own life. I understood at that moment. The incident with the truck and the woman caused the change, and she was going to warn us about the place, but in a way that no one would believe her. That's what happened the next day when she asked to see all of us together. The thing was, while she talked, she was the only one laughing. The rest of us looked at each other, not knowing what to do. We went to her house and warned her parents, but they had the same joking and sarcastic attitude. 2 days later, the three of them committed suicide by hanging themselves. Somehow the gas station was calling us and tempting us to go. In the end, I was left with scars on my wrists because, after going to that gas station so many times to warn those who couldn't resist seeing for themselves, one day I woke up dazed and without realizing it, I tried to take my own life. I won't give directions because fortunately that gas station was closed down. We are from a small town, and the rumors made it more tempting for curious people to experience it firsthand. But the rest of us continued with our lives. Many of my friends lost their lives to something that to this day, I still can't find a reasonable explanation for. Good evening, community. I'm Miguel Cardenas, and I want to share with you my experience when I was hired for the first time to work at a gas station, and how, after a few days, I began to notice something that at first glance seemed perfectly normal, but as the weeks passed, my mind began to question what was real and what was not. It happened in 2006. One night I had a strong argument with my parents, the root of which was my decision to quit studying. I left my degree halfway through. Today I realize the irreparable mistake I made at that moment, a mistake that ultimately led to my parents' separation. But what happened at the gas station occurred long before that unfortunate event. My father had a friend who mentioned a job opening, and he didn't hesitate to recommend me. So, I accepted without any problem. To be honest, I wanted that job. I needed the money so I wouldn't have to ask my dad for everything. He already looked at me disapprovingly every time I came home from work, and that irritated me. It was evident that he was right, but my shamelessness and pride were greater than reason. My first day was completely normal. The tense atmosphere at home due to my situation had calmed down a bit, and I convinced myself that over time, everything would be as it was before, or even better. After all, I wasn't a bum anymore, and I made an agreement with my father to help with the household expenses. I was still resentful about leaving university, but little by little, I would regain his trust. He even committed to picking me up at the gas station when I had the night shift. The thing is, I was going to be working the night shift for the entire first month. And then it happened. It was between 9 and 10 at night when an accident occurred on the road in front of the gas station. A car collided with a trailer and burst into flames. The 3 people inside died after the vehicle exploded. The trailer's driver managed to survive but was the only one. It was undoubtedly tragic, and the worst part is that I witnessed the whole thing. Curiously, I was looking toward the road at that moment. The bodies were burned beyond recognition. Forgetting that day is impossible. It happened on a Wednesday. I even requested a shift change, but my strict boss refused and threatened to fire me if I continued to complain. I didn't bring up the topic again because, honestly, if I had been fired, things with my father would have gotten much worse than they already were. The accident, sadly, led to more frequent conversations with him since he was worried, and that was good for me. Days went by normally until the next Wednesday arrived. I truly don't know how it was possible, but at the same time, between 9 and 10 at night, another accident occurred on the road in the same way as the previous week, but with something extremely strange. The car that overturned and caught fire was exactly the same, and it didn't crash into anything. To be honest, my eyes saw it collide with an invisible wall, then burst into flames and finally explode. There were at least 5 cars at the gas station at that moment, and the weird part was that no one reacted. None of them turned to look or anything, despite the noise of the explosion. It felt as if they heard nothing, so I mentioned the accident to a coworker. What left me stunned was that he said he didn't see the burning car. We finished filling up the cars with gas, and then I pulled him aside and told him to stop joking. But I soon realized that he wasn't playing a cruel prank on me. The other cars drove down the road without any problem, passing right through the one that had crashed, as if it were a hologram or an illusion. I told my coworker to forget about it but to watch the pump for a moment. I thought I was disturbed by what I had witnessed the previous week and was hallucinating, but I took the opportunity to get closer to what only I seemed to see, and something very strange happened. As I approached, I felt the heat of the flames. I could touch the pieces of metal scattered across the asphalt. I put my hand in the flames and got burned, so much so that it kept burning for a long time. Never in my life had I experienced anything like that. I was not only the only one who could see it, but also feel it. And it didn't end there. The people inside the car were struggling to get out. I watched their bodies burn and heard them begging me to help. My body trembled at their pleading voices, but up close, I saw the other cars pass through them as if nothing was there. I spoke to the boy begging for help, and he answered coherently. I refused to believe it was an illusion, so I threw a rock at them and it passed right through. It was something only I could see, and I couldn't explain why. I ran back to the gas station and had to pretend I saw nothing for the rest of the night and continue with my work. When 3 a.m. came, the car disappeared along with the pieces of metal, and no one said anything. Neither the police nor an ambulance arrived. It was all very strange. The next day, nothing unusual happened, nor in the following days until the next Wednesday, when I witnessed the accident again. The same car model, the same place, the fire, the explosion, everything repeated. I couldn't mention what was happening because sooner or later, they would say I had gone crazy. But as time went on, I began to think my coworkers weren't real and acted as if they didn't exist. Soon, this affected me at home, and I ignored my parents. I felt like I was losing my mind. The accident soon became more real to me than those who truly were, and in the end, I decided to quit. That was the trigger for my parents' separation. I told my dad what was happening and the reason for my decision, but he told me to leave the house or else he would find a way to have me admitted to a psychiatric hospital. Since then, I went to live with my aunt, and now I live with my wife and young daughter. I told my wife the story, and she was speechless. After all, what could she say? Thank you all for listening to my story, and good night. I'm Elvis Rodriguez, and I want to tell you about how, while working at a gas station, I came close to evil. So close that it even told me what it would do, and how it would do it. It was one of the most terrifying experiences of my life, in which an act of bravery and honesty made me lose what I loved most. It happened in 2011. I had been working at a gas station for 2 years, where they often replaced my colleagues. If one lasted 2 months, it was a long time. I didn't know why, but they always kept me and fired the others until someone arrived who changed everything. Her name was Christina. Blonde, blue eyes, undoubtedly beautiful to me. I couldn't believe someone like her would become my coworker, but that's what happened. We spent most of the day unoccupied. The number of cars arriving gradually decreased, and mysteriously my boss began to raise my salary more frequently. Thus, 3 months passed. My shifts always coincided with Christina's, and honestly, I didn't dare protest. I liked it. One day she talked to me about her ambitions. It was obvious that she was someone who wanted to go far in life, but truthfully, working at a gas station, she would never achieve that. I advised her to try new things, leave that job and find something better, and she assured me she was already working on it. Soon after, she happily told me that she had found something to sell, and it would give her everything she desired. The following week, a new vacancy opened at the gas station. I thought they would fire either her or me, but no. They added a new worker. I didn't expect something like that, and a month later a new pump was built, one for each employee. It was strange for them to do that, but I hardly talked to my boss. In the end, I didn't ask anything, and then the day came when Christina told me she had made a deal, and that night she would deliver that which she had started selling. The thing is, I didn't see any product in her hands, and she kept it a secret the whole time. Midnight arrived, we were the three of us there alone, and then she gave me a look indicating it was time. I was alert to everything, and suddenly it happened. Our co-worker, the third employee, had a heart attack. He just fell to the floor and died. We called for help as quickly as we could, but it was useless. There was no way to save him. The ambulance arrived too late. The next morning, Christina came and gave me a wad of cash, claiming she wanted to share her earnings with me for being kind to her. She made it clear at that moment that we were friends, but she still didn't reveal what she had sold. It was evident it had made her a lot of money, but the curiosity consumed me. As the days passed, I began to connect one thing with another. The next worker who replaced the deceased was younger than us, very full of life. Days later, Christina revealed to me that she would make a new delivery that night, and in the early morning, the new employee died. A strange truck arrived, and 5 men got out to empty all the ammunition from their guns into him. It seemed like a personal matter. The police investigated, but they didn't catch the culprits. Things continued happening incredibly the same way at least 2 more times. The next employee died because of a car that lost its brakes and ran him over. Another tripped and ended up under the wheels of a truck. Curiously, they all died on the nights Christina told me she would make a delivery of what she was selling. One day I confronted her, and after confessing her feelings for me, she revealed that she had found a way to contact an evil entity, a specter from hell with whom she had bargained the souls of each new employee. In return, it would give her anything she asked for, be it money or any whim. She confessed that she had become beautiful in this way, and although she said she never intended to do it as often as she did at that time, ambition overcame her. I couldn't believe it. But then the new employee arrived to replace the previous one. I told myself I wasn't going to let another person die, and I contacted the police. I told them that one way or another, Christina was causing the deaths of those workers. The next day, she didn't come to work, but she left me a note saying she wished I had kept my mouth shut, that it had been my worst mistake. When I got home, I was shocked to find my mother lying on the floor. She had a heart attack. I called emergency services, but there was nothing they could do. I had lost her. I never saw Christina again, and every day I regret not realizing what was happening in time. On the nights when I feel that way, I wonder what I could have done to change things. But to this day, I can't find an answer.